Good day, my name is Thomas Minnie and I'm a senior practicing attorney at Thomas Minnie Attorneys in Pretoria. Today we're going to be having a look at the issue of schooling and education. It appears that there are many concerns regarding this issue. Now, to start with, the basic right to education is contained in Section 29 of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, and it makes provision for an absolute right to basic education. The provision also refers to the issue of tertiary education, but for today's discussion we're not going to be discussing that issue. That should also be read then with Section 28 of the Constitution, which deals with the best interests of children. Legislation which regulates the issue of schooling is the Schools Act. Now, the Schools Act has certain definitions that are important to comprehend. It is a starting point. The first is that a parent is defined as a parent, a guardian, a person legally entitled to custody of a child, as well as any other person who has accepted the responsibility of such a child. And in the Act, they refer to the child as a learner. The compulsory school-going age of a learner is from day one in the year in which they turn 7 years old, up until the last day of the year in which they turn 15, or in which they are enrolled in grade 9, whichever comes first. The relevance of those definitions is relating to the offence which is contained in the Act. Should a person who is responsible for a learner not ensure that the learner attends school, such failure is a criminal offence, and if you are prosecuted of that offence, you may be sentenced to a fine or imprisonment of 6 months. There are many parents who are investigating the possibility of homeschooling their learner. Section 51 of the Schools Act, which regulates homeschooling. Now, that provision is extremely short, and to assist with that, the Education Department has published a policy which needs to be adhered to. Section 51 in itself simply makes provision for homeschooling, and then there are certain formality requirements in the event that you opt to homeschool your learner. So in light of the current situation, and specifically taking into account the COVID-19 lockdown regulations, the options are clear. It is either send your child back to school or embark on homeschooling. Now, if you decide to enroll your child with a homeschooling institution, then you have to apply to the head of department of your region. Now, there is a list of contact persons. The relevant person who is ordained with approving or not approving your application. Should you require the list or require the contact details of such a person, you are more than welcome to contact me. The application consists of a written application in which various documents and information must be provided, including a birth certificate, the registration details of the institution which you intend enrolling your child or the learner at, as well as the curriculum that will be followed, and then there are a few other documents. So once you have enrolled the learner with the institution, then the obligation on you as the parent remains to keep record of the child's attendance. In other words, you have to keep an hour register. You have to keep register of the support in the education program which your child receives. There are assessment reports, exams, tests, and numerous other aspects and progress reports which have to be maintained and must be provided to the head of department. Now, it's important to keep in mind that the head of department may also revoke the permission which was granted in the event that it is in the best interest of the child. So it is clear that the option to homeschool your child or the learner is one that must not be taken lightly and must be given serious consideration. Then for those learners who will be returning to school, the planned dates for such return is as follows. The office-bearing staff of a school will be returning to their place of work on the 4th of May, which has now already happened, so they should already be at the school. On the 11th of May, that has also passed, the management of the school will return to their place of work, and then from the 18th of May, the teachers will return, and their function will be to start preparing the facility for your learner. And then on the 1st of June, the matrics, that's the grade 12s as well as the grade 7s, the standard 5s, will be returning to school. So with the return of the learners imminent, it is important for us to have a look at what must take place when they return to school. Now, there is a press release which was given by the Minister, and to date there are no regulations or directions that have been given, but the press release gives us a clear indication of what we can expect, and I am expecting those directions to be published and released before the learners must return to school. In the meantime, we can start preparing our learners for the following. The regulations remain. In other words, your learner must be taught to adhere to the regulations, and specifically provision 5 of the regulations, which makes provision and describes the combat of the COVID-19 virus, namely the wearing of masks, hand sanitizing, social distancing, etc. My advice to parents is, as your child has been in an area of safekeeping for some 7 weeks now and has not needed to wear a mask, has been in the comfort of their home, it is important to start preparing your child for what is to come. In other words, with 2 weeks left before they must return, my advice is to make time to show them how to wear their masks correctly and let them wear it for a certain period of the day to get used to it. Wearing a mask around your face may not be that simple for everybody, and many learners might experience a claustrophobic feeling. So assist them, help them in the comfort of your home, get them used to washing their hands, explain the social distancing concept to them, and get them ready. As far as the school is concerned, there are certain precautions that will be taken by the school, and those are also published in the press release. The precautions that are being taken at the school itself is that the classrooms are being sanitized every day before your learner arrives at school, and then the learner's hands will be sanitized prior to entering every classroom, and there will be limited movement between classrooms. In other words, where learners used to move from one class to the other for different subjects, it will in most instances be the teacher that will move around and the children will remain stationary. There will also be no clustering of any children. In other words, children will be separated to adhere to the 2-meter distance, that no more than 2 learners will sit at one table, and the learners will also be spread out within the classroom. Learners will also be prohibited from direct contact with one another, and there will be no handshaking or hugging. Mass gatherings will also be prohibited,